What's going on, guys? It's Troydan here, and today we're watching the tragic Lonzo Ball story. Go.
I'm very impressed with Lonzo Ball.
Me too.
I think he could be a potential superstar in the making.
Ball steps back, long
It's also a try not to cry challenge.
Lonzo's ability to make the people around him better is special. He's an exciting player.
Closest thing to magic that we've seen.
Lonzo Ball.
It's just not positive. That's the only difference.
Lonzo Ball's official shoe released.
$495 shoes.
Well, LeVar, have you been surprised by all the reaction to your shoes?
Oh, not really.
No one knows the real story about them shoes, though. Them ZO2s I was playing in, they was not ready.
But now, after they did the surgery on his leg, I'm looking at it, I'm like, yo, they got him running this stuff too fast.
Oh, there's the throwback. That's nostalgia right there. Lonzo in a Laker uniform. Oh, this is going to be a hard one, man.
When looking back, the 2017 NBA draft was one of the more fascinating classes in recent memory. The #1 pick, Markelle Fultz, had a miserable career with the Sixers.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
Failing to become the sharpshooting
Look at that
guard
queer
that
shot
we
he
had hoped
has.
for. 3 spots later at #4 stood Josh Jackson, who was unable to evolve into the two-way assassin Phoenix desired.
I forgot about
The
Josh
top
Jackson.
players from this class are Jason Tatum, Bam Adebayo, Donovan Mitchell, and De'Aaron Fox. All 4 players are all-star level talents, and lived up to the expectations that were put on them. Then there's the big question mark. The one player that had more hype than everyone aforementioned. In the 12 months leading up to the 2017 draft, the sports media was centered on one polarizing UCLA guard, Lonzo Ball, and his dad.
Guys!
I think he's Jason Kidd.
I need a tissue!
The basketball. He's
Not to
obviously
jerk it
the
for
best
one. I need
passer in
tissue
college
for my
basketball,
eyes.
And he has
Mother.
absurd range on his jump shot.
Somebody got to be better than Jordan. Why not you?
Lonzo Ball was a prodigy,
LeVar.
touching a basketball for the first time at 2 years old. From that very moment, his goal and his family's goal was simple: make it to the NBA.
That's why he's got
In
the 2.
2016, Lonzo was a senior at Chino Hills High School, and he quickly became the most exciting point guard in the nation. Whether it was his effortless passing vision, his Curry-esque long-range shooting,
No, don't be
or
calling
his
next
unparalleled
Westbrook.
swagger,
That guy!
Zoe led his senior year team to a 35-0 record, earning the state title on top of it. The reason Ball caught so many eyes was because he had 2 things: sweet highlights, and his brothers on the court with him. The 3 Ball brothers took America by storm, each one of them having their own unique skills.
Yeah, one's good at
Lonzo was
stealing.
the passer, Jello was the shooter, and Melo was the scorer. Lonzo was the oldest of the 3, and this fascinating trio captivated basketball fans of all ages.
I just want to tell you right now, name a trio right now. That's my one pause. The related trio that's better than the Ball brothers, okay? You can't. There's no 3 people related that's better. It's
In
just not.
2016,
It's
the
never happened.
expectations for Lonzo Ball were only growing higher and
LeVar's
higher.
balls,
He had already committed to
the
UCLA
greatest basketball
at the
balls
age
you've ever
of
seen.
16, and was touted by many as a surefire top 3 prospect. If you asked any spectator during this time, they would agree that Lonzo was on the right path.
Alexa, is Markelle Fultz dead? It's not.
And had a successful basketball career
what
ahead of
happened.
him. While that second statement was an accurate assessment, one thing was already putting Lonzo's career in jeopardy, that being the mileage on his legs.
I can't run or
When
jump.
looking at present-day Lonzo Ball, the headlines surrounding him are depressing. His play on the court is above average. He's a quality point guard that would add valued playmaking and shooting to any team. But the problem isn't his play, it's his health.
Facts. He's the greatest ever, but he just can't stay healthy. He's always...
Through Lonzo's 5-year NBA career thus far, he has missed 37% of the games he's eligible to play. It's been a variety of lower body injuries, varying from knee issues to ankle injuries, to most recently, the horribly unfortunate bone bruise and meniscus injury. Lonzo Ball has been plagued by poor health, and it's robbed him of showcasing his abilities on the floor. Yet, why does he experience these injury issues? Sure, some players might be more unlucky than others, but chalking Zoe's health to just bad luck isn't doing this situation the justice it deserves. There's a major problem here. Throughout Lonzo's rise as a player around high school and into college, there were multiple events he experienced that explain why he's so injury-prone today. starting from the very beginning.
Why?
Lonzo is nothing short of a basketball fanatic. His father, LeVar Ball, knew Zoe would be drafted by the Lakers since he was a baby.
You've been talking about it for 9
Speak
months.
it into existence.
19, 20 years.
That's the greatest father of the decade.
Lonzo was being trained to become an NBA player from an incredibly young age.
Look at these
As
passes.
mentioned
You've never
before,
seen that
Zoe
before.
first started playing basketball at the age of 2 years old. Lonzo says his first memories of playing came at age 6 in different YMCA
Ontario?
games.
Canadian?
He often played against the older kids and held his own, signifying to LeVar that he had the skills needed to succeed in the sport. LeVar Ball wanted to ensure that his son had the best possible advantage over his opponents, so from the age of just 4, they began training. LeVar is quoted as saying, "I started introducing my boys to working out when they were just 4 or 5 years old, doing pull-ups and
Hell
dips
yeah,
and
that's what you
hanging
gotta
on the
do when you
bars
get a
for
couple
fun."
kids.
At the age of 12, Lonzo started using free weights. He did military presses and bench presses. Zoe also sprinted up 1-mile-long hills,
Look at that,
and
ahead
this
of
was all
everyone.
done 5 days a week once he turned 12.
I started when I was 12, so now I'm 19, so 7 years. That's Monday through Friday, every day.
Gosh.
Always. Routine stays the same.
Lonzo
nice
was
eyes.
outworked by few, and this strict training regimen,
Lonzo
combined
in the
with
dunk
his elite
contest,
two-way
please.
skills, turned him into a young star. But knowing what we know now, is it not fair to wonder if these workouts at all affected Lonzo's future health? Ball played hoops a ton throughout his childhood, and trained 5 days a week consistently, putting long-lasting mileage on his legs that cannot be understated. NBA players who played an abundance of youth basketball are starting to see a pattern.
Oh, I love that
more wear and
combo.
tear on their legs.
Oh,
Why? Because the countless hours of basketball they played as teenagers is starting to weigh on them.
This point was echoed by orthopedics and the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver. Silver was quoted as saying that orthopedics are seeing wear and tear issues in young players that they didn't used to see until players were much older. In a well-researched
interesting.
ESPN article by Baxter Holmes, he details a 3-year-long experiment that was conducted among Chicago youth athletes. The average age of the athlete involved was 13 and a half. Kids who were specialized in one sport versus kids who were not specialized in one sport were compared. What was found was that those who were specialized were at a significantly higher risk for injuries, such as bone issues, cartilage injuries, and ligament injuries. How much higher of a risk? About 125%. That's right. Teenagers who specialized in one sport year-round were at a 125% higher risk of injury than those who weren't specialized. Now tell me, which player started working out at 4 years old? Who was playing basketball at the YMCA regularly at 6
no, man.
and trained 5 days a week since they were 12?
Nah, you can't be
Who sprinted up 1-mile-long hills
I didn't think that would help
consistently?
him.
And who was constantly specializing in playing basketball? Who infamously worked out on Christmas Day? The answer is Lonzo Ball.
and other great athletes as well. This isn't fair. No, shame.
Which injuries are Lonzo unfortunately facing today? Well, his most recent surgery is to remove broken cartilage and tissues.
I can't even keep up
To
with his
add on,
injuries.
Lonzo has received criticism in the past for
I
his
can't
questionable
keep up with
workout routines. In May of 2020, a video of him awkwardly lifting
my
weights
neck
went
hurts.
viral
My
on the
shoulders are in
internet,
pain.
with many criticizing his
What the hell
form,
was this, Lutz?
claiming it was dangerous.
Okay,
if
take back
Zoe was
everything I
lifting
say.
weights with this poor form and not seeing anything wrong with it, who's to say that he wouldn't continue this bad pattern into his other workout routines? Regardless, this is only the tip of the
Boy,
iceberg.
that
There
hurt.
are many other factors to blame for why Lonzo is
that
so
necklace.
injury prone.
Triple B's on the main. Oh, I forgot how it
It's
goes.
the spring of 2017.
Level up Super Saiyan.
And Lonzo Ball is the king of college basketball. No other NCAA
Never.
player was receiving as much attention.
Never ever.
He was compared to the Hall of Fame point
Oh,
guard
psh,
Jason Kidd.
aim higher.
Hype was growing, not only from his play, but also from his father. LeVar Ball needs no further introduction.
Beat his
Every
ass,
week,
Noodle.
a new quote would emerge from LeVar on how Lonzo was the soon-to-be legend. LeVar said Lonzo was better than Steph Curry, and he said that he could beat Michael Jordan in a one-on-one.
Yeah, of course
Yet,
he could.
all of those statements paled in comparison to his clothing company, Big Baller Brand.
I wouldn't say that
BBB
failed.
for short.
At first. They sold a lot of $80 t-shirts.
LeVar Ball and his team expertly advertised and marketed BBB for months.
Triple B's.
You weren't a real hooper if you didn't wear BBB.
Facts.
LeVar and his
Facts.
wild quotes drew attention to the company, while LaMelo, LiAngelo, and Lonzo all wore its merch regularly. The most infamous product ever released
I wish I bought
by
that damn
BBB
shoe.
were the ZO2
I
Prime
remember these
sneakers,
like it was yesterday.
a signature shoe of the college point guard Lonzo that were priced at $495.
I thought that was a lie.
Everywhere across the
They're going for like
world,
$5,000.
People crack jokes about this. $500 shoes for a college kid who
Look that shoe up on eBay right now.
hadn't even proved himself to be a good NBA player yet. But what little seemed to question is how these sneakers would affect his health. The BBB sneakers that Lonzo Ball wore are perhaps one of the biggest reasons for why he is such an injury-filled mess today. He didn't wear them every game, but when he did, his lower body suffered. In September of 2019, Lonzo revealed that his $495 shoes needed to be changed every single quarter because they kept ripping. No one knows the real story about those shoes, said Lonzo in a podcast interview.
The shoes
they
weren't
were
so
not
good of an
ready.
idea.
It got to the point where Lonzo told his manager that he could not play in those shoes. They were unwearable after 1 quarter of play. What many forget is that Lonzo's original ZO2 Prime shoes were actually redesigned before they were released. Why were they redesigned? Lonzo's 2 worst Summer League games came when he was wearing his own $500 sneakers. Ball played best when he was wearing other sneakers like Nike.
That's funny.
But once he put on his own,
that's funny.
his play took a nosedive. The ZO2 Prime redesign was created to be a bit more wearable in-game, but even then, the results were catastrophic. It got so bad that Lonzo was confronted by the Lakers organization about the BBB sneakers in early March of 2019.
Is it that bad?
The Lakers were wondering if the shoes had all contributed to Lonzo's slew of ankle injuries he was suffering. Ball told them he was comfortable, and if he wasn't comfortable, he'd be playing in Kobe's. He was not telling the truth. Why'd Lonzo insist on wearing them?
Why did you wear them? Just because you guys had like already?
They're my shoe.
And you're like,
I had to debut them. Like, we went so far with it. I'm like,
can't stop now.
I'm like, cool. I can.
He got
I
the
can get a quarter
tattoo.
in, but that's it. We gotta switch them every quarter.
Lonzo consistently wore BBBs for the first 2 seasons of his career.
He balled out though.
In mid to late 2019, Zoe publicly ditched Big Baller Brand. BBB's co-founder, Alan Foster, allegedly used $1.5 million of Lonzo's money for himself. Foster was the man who convinced Lonzo to sign with BBB instead of Nike and Adidas during the 2017 draft. As we will soon discover, Lonzo's decision to wear BBBs ended up being a horrible one. Now, let's rewind back to the summer of 2017. Lonzo Ball had just been drafted to Los Angeles, fulfilling his lifetime goal of becoming a Laker. Cameras were on this 19-year-old every day. He had the most hype out of any player in his draft class. Summer League ended up being a success. LA won the championship,
he won the MVP?
with Lonzo being the MVP. Zoe performed well, outside of the few poor games he had when he wore his signature shoes.
Wow, it really was the shoes.
Lonzo's rookie season saw him miss 30 out of the 82 games with various knee and ankle issues. On June 29th, 2018, 2 months after his rookie season had concluded, he was diagnosed with a torn meniscus in his left knee that forced him into surgery.
I thought the meniscus was something in your sack.
Injuries weren't all at the fault of the BBB sneakers. Zoe hurt his lower body wearing regular Nikes as well. What is worth noting is that LeVar Ball called the Lakers trainers and their workout methods BS. If you're going to be doing those workouts with rubber bands like that Jude Gunner has him doing, that is BS training. That's what I call it. He wasn't like that when I brought him over there. When he first came to the Lakers, he never got hurt. He was never hurt. LeVar is referring to Gunnar Peterson, a Lakers trainer who worked with Zoe, primarily utilizing rubber band workouts. At this point in the summer of 2018 though, there was little to no fear regarding Lonzo Ball's health. His long history of specializing in basketball, his BBB shoes, his questionable training methods.
What is that?
None of that raised any red flags yet. When LeBron James signed with LA in July of 2018, expectations of a championship were abound in Los Angeles. But that didn't happen. Not with Lonzo on the team at least. What would follow for Zoe was a roller coaster sophomore season that ended with more question marks than answers. Lonzo Ball's 2018-19 season was one that saw him show flashes of his number 2 pick ability. He quickly gained a reputation of being one of the most elite perimeter
defender in the league.
In the game. He and LeBron had their exciting moments too. They became the 8th duo in NBA history to both record a triple-double in the same game. Come New Year 2019, everything was looking up for Lonzo. The Lakers were a few games over 500
Look at these.
and were looking to make a playoff
He's such a good shooter
Zoe
now.
was finally getting into a good rhythm. He had played every game of the season thus far. He was shooting above average from downtown, and his defense was becoming lethal. The starting point guard position was his to lose. He, LeBron, and Brandon Ingram were the big three that was expected to give Los Angeles their first playoff appearance in half a decade. But that all changed on January 19th, 2019 in a game against the Houston Rockets.
This was the worst.
Where Lonzo suffered an injury.
This was the worst thing ever. I was supposed to go see him the next, I think it was like a week from then, or whatever it was. Supposed to play the Raptors. I went to the Raptors game.
Career forever.
Oh, God!
In the second half against the Rockets, Lonzo hurt his ankle in a collision. It was a left ankle sprain. This injury not only ended
I broke my phone
Lonzo's
because
season,
of this,
but it took his momentum and his team's momentum and crushed it. The Lakers, who were 25-21 at the time of this injury, plummeted, going 12-23 in the final 35 games and missing the playoffs. Lonzo was coming off a stretch where he was averaging 15, 9, and 6, and an all-defensive team appearance seemed more than possible. Yet, there were no accolades for Lonzo, and no playoff appearances for the Lakers. Instead, the final image of Lonzo Ball's career with Los Angeles is this. The 21-year-old lying on the ground,
come on, that's gore, don't show it.
With his big baller brand shoes on.
Watching.
A tenure where Lonzo was hyped up to be the next Magic Johnson is remembered for nothing more than back-breaking injuries and losing. He was traded 6 months later. Every story doesn't have a good ending. Lonzo was expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with this injury, but ended up being shut down in late March of 2019. This ankle injury he suffered was when he was wearing BBB sneakers. On the night of November 27th, 2018, Lonzo wore BBBs against Denver and suffered a left ankle sprain.
Dude, it's a shoe!
1 month later, against Sacramento on December 28th, 2018, Zoe aggravated his ankle again.
What's he wearing?
Which shoe was he wearing?
God!
You guessed it.
These
As mentioned earlier, the Lakers spoke to Zoe when he was rehabbing in March of 2019, 2 months after his Rockets injury. Lonzo said wearing BBB sneakers didn't bother him. He was lying. 6 months later, in September of 2019, Lonzo was quoted as saying, "The brand is demolished right now." This quote was after his falling out with Alan Foster. Zoe was referring to Big Baller Brand, and he was talking to his father while saying this. He never wore the shoes in-game again. A little known fact from this time is that in April of 2019, Lonzo Ball almost had an unauthorized surgery. Lonzo and his team had planned to get surgery on his ankle from a doctor they were familiar with, and it would have been without the Lakers' permission. Once LA's general manager Rob Pelinka called Lonzo and threatened to void his contract, Zoe agreed to cancel the surgery. A near disaster was avoided, and this can once again be chalked up as another questionable move by Zoe. His odd workout routines, his disastrous decision to put Big Baller Brand over his health, and his choice of almost going through with a surgery that his team had no idea about. All of them were iffy choices. The first 2 seasons of Lonzo's career had a detrimental impact on his long-term health. Unfortunately for him, the worst was yet to come.
Ah, shit.
Lonzo's 2 seasons with the New Orleans Pelicans were forgettable. The one bright spot was Zoe's health in the 2019-20 season, as well as his improvement shooting the 3-ball. Lonzo went from a liability from outside at 32% in 2018-19 to 37% in 2019-20. Fun fact, this year remains the one with the most games ever played by Zoe in one season. 63 games played out of 72.
That's pretty good.
This was a high point in Lonzo's career.
More LeBron.
He was finally getting healthy. He had a sweet new jump shot, and the duo of he and Zion Williamson were expected to dominate for the next decade. The 2020-21 season was conflicting for Zoe. He was an up-and-down, inconsistent player. One game, he'd hit a multitude of threes and look like a two-way beast. Another game, he'd be passive with the ball,
was he wearing
passing
BBBs?
up open shots
Check
and
his
looking like
shoes.
just another forgettable face on the
Yo,
court.
who the hell is Miss Aiden? What that?
This was understandable though.
Miss Aiden.
Fans of Lonzo believed his talents would be better utilized on a different team. Lonzo wanted to be the primary playmaker and desired to be paid a pretty penny that New Orleans didn't want to give him.
player.
Like Los Angeles, the expectations for Zoe were high once he arrived in New Orleans, but by the end of it, fans were left just shrugging their shoulders. Lonzo dealt with hip strains, minor knee injuries, and thumb sprains in his final season with New Orleans, which made the Pelicans hesitant to offer him a big deal.
Yo,
This
shut up,
combined
donkey.
with Zoe's preference for playing in the Windy City made the free agency process smooth. The Chicago Bulls quickly emerged as a team that was willing to pay Lonzo as much as he wanted. Ball's playmaking, alongside Zach LaVine's scoring and DeMar DeRozan's slashing, were a match made in heaven. Finally, in what would be year 5 of his career, Zoe was in the position he'd always dreamed of. He could be the captain of a playoff team.
He's 6 years.
He'd never been in the postseason before, and now was his best chance. Through the first few months of the 2021-22 season, that dream was realized. Lonzo evolved into the best version of himself. Having a career year, he averaged 13 a game with 5 dimes, shooting a scorching hot 42% from downtown. This was a player who just a few years prior was known as an offensive liability for his lack of a jump shot. Zoe tuned out the noise and put the work in, and was reaping the benefits. He and the Chicago Bulls rose to the number 1 seed in the East, appearing to be formidable contenders. Ball had arrived, gaining more and more momentum each game. He was a two-way monster. His last game of the 2021-22 season came against the Golden State Warriors on January 14th.
Woo, right in your face,
Nobody
Curry!
knew it at the time,
Passing to the
but
torch.
Zoe was about to go through one of the most grueling and painful injury recoveries in NBA history. On January 15th, 2022, Zoe was ruled out against the Celtics with knee soreness. Nothing was thought of it at the time, but once 4 days passed and it was announced that his knee was not responding to the treatment, panic rose in Chicago. He was diagnosed with a bone bruise and a small meniscus tear the next day. He underwent surgery 8 days later, and this is where many problems arise. In mid-March of 2022, videos surfaced of Lonzo running and lifting weights, looking better health-wise. The only problem is that 9 days later, he reportedly faced more discomfort. Accusations from many NBA fans,
Get him on the juice,
including
guys.
LeVar Ball, accused Chicago of rushing Lonzo back following the surgery. LeVar is quoted as saying this:
After they do the surgery on his leg, I'm looking and I'm like, yo, they got him running and stuff too fast. It was too early for him to do that. You know, I'm looking like, no. He should have been doing some pool therapy instead of the treadmill or little running.
Yeah,
he was
get him a
doing. I'm like,
pool.
that's wrong.
Pool anabolics.
Lonzo's apparent discomfort after
I'd
the
go.
surgery came when he began sprinting and cutting, implying that the Bulls were progressing much faster than he was comfortable with. He was officially ruled out for the season in early April. On April 28th, following Chicago's loss to the Bucks in round 1 of the playoffs, Zoe said his recovery was at a standstill. For months through the summer of 2022, it was radio silence regarding Lonzo. Then, heartbreak was announced on September 29th, 2022. He could not run, he could not jump, and he could not play.
Lonzo, if you ever want to run Fortnite, man, I'm
He
here.
was undergoing yet another knee surgery.
If it doesn't work out.
Depressing news, and underneath that misery is one haunting question that must be answered. Will he ever be the same?
Yes. Yes,
All
he
of
will.
these injuries leave Lonzo in a terribly difficult position to be in. Assuming he returns, will the lower body issues keep piling on?
No.
Will
No,
he
he
ever
just
be
got
able
unlucky.
to grow into the all-star point guard that many believed he could be? Will his life ever be the same? The severity of such injuries cannot be
come on, you
understated.
give me a
There
warning
comes
through
a
show,
point
Meg.
where Zoe may have to make a difficult decision between playing basketball or putting his health first. His personal day-to-day life could be affected by this injury and possible future ones. And that's what makes the tragedy of Lonzo so frustrating. He had the potential to be one of the most electric point guards in the game. In college, he was regularly called the most exciting player in the NCAA. He had millions of fans, tons of fame on social media, and was willing to put in the work to improve at his faults. He had the charisma, talent, and personality of a superstar.
Facts.
Every team would benefit from having a healthy Lonzo on their squad.
Facts.
But here's the problem.
What?
He's never healthy. Just when it seemed like he was putting it together in Los Angeles in 2019, he was hit with an ankle sprain that ended his season. In New Orleans, he and Zion could have been one of the most thrilling pairings in the league.
I know.
But the Pelicans let him go because they didn't want to pay him. Why? Because he was too injury prone. In Chicago, the Bulls were the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference with Zoe healthy. Ball was the glue that held the team together. Once he got hurt, the Bulls lost all of their momentum and crashed, leaving Lonzo to go yet another year without a playoff appearance. If you told any college basketball fan back in 2017 that this is how Zoe's career would go, they'd laugh at you and call you crazy. The idea of such a flawless prospect facing such an unlucky fate is agonizing. Lonzo Ball will go down as a what-if. And nobody wants another what-if story.
No, he won't.
There's no one solo thing to blame for his downfall.
No, he won't.
But there are multiple factors. Him playing hoops since age 2 and starting to work out at age 4 played a part in this.
No.
Running up 1 mile long hills.
No, okay, that's clearly. This has been a 27-minute video. Here, listen. Lonzo Ball, he's gonna be fine. We're gonna get him on the good stuff, okay? He's going to get out of the Asada pool. They're not going to test him. We're going to get him all good. He's going to be working out hard. He's going to be jumping higher. He's going to be shooting better. Steroids fix things. Check LeBron, okay? That guy's like 54 or something, and he plays really good for his age. Lonzo's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. He just needs to get healthy. Lonzo has all the talent. He can shoot. He can dunk. He can pass. He can do everything. Dribble. Just can't seem to walk on his own. We're going to... Steroids. Guys, if you got a video you'd like for me to watch or react to, you can tweet me at Troydan under the hashtag TroydanReacts. Thank you for watching, and kids, pray for Lonzo.